How's it going, everyone? So today I've got another discussion video. That's what we're calling these now. These aren't just stupid dumb nerd rants, these are discussions, and today's topic is about Ubisoft. So I kind of didn't immediately jump on this because I wanted to sort of see a little bit more how the situation would play out, and it's still kind of playing out. But for people who haven't really been paying attention to video game news, Ubisoft is in a pretty not super great state right now. I'm not going to be alarmist with this video and be like, oh, Ubisoft is dying, Ubisoft is going to go bankrupt, Ubisoft is going to collapse, yada yada yada. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Ubisoft has been in some pretty bad fucking situations before, and they made it out. Maybe they'll make it out of this one. I don't know. But for those who don't know, Ubisoft is their stock has gone down a shitload, like a lot recently, and that's not good for a publicly traded company. And there's a lot of people looking to buy them now that their stock is low, which is would be a pretty big change to the status quo, because Ubisoft has been owned by Yves Guillemot, who's like the big dick on the block over there. In its current state, Ubisoft's stock has gone down crazily. People like Tencent is thinking about buying them out. There is a activist investor who wants to buy them out and make them go private again. Part of the reason why Ubisoft's stock has gone down is, as I'm sure everybody who watches this video is already well aware, Ubisoft has been their quality output has been uneven, to say the least. Now, me personally, I'm someone who's been shitting on Ubisoft, like, privately, like, amongst friends and people I know for a really long fucking time. I don't talk about it a lot in my videos or on this channel because I don't really play Ubisoft games anymore, so I don't really ever have a reason to talk about them. But for a little bit of my personal viewpoint, I really fucking hate most Ubisoft games, and have for a while, and kind of hold Ubisoft responsible for a lot of, like, the worst trends in the gaming industry that I absolutely fucking despise. But to more universalize that message, Ubisoft has kind of become a publisher that really, they have all of their eggs in one basket, more or less, and that basket is Assassin's Creed. They have, like, what are they working on, like 4 Assassin's Creed? No, not 4, like 3 Assassin's Creed projects they're working on right now. The Samurai one, the Witch one, and then whatever the fuck Assassin's Creed Infinity is supposed to be. Some live service or hub thing. I'm still not really clear on that because I don't really care a whole lot about Assassin's Creed. So, but other than that, more or less, Ubisoft has really lost a lot of prestige to their name over the past 10 years. Other than Assassin's Creed, all they have is Siege, and to a much lesser extent, Far Cry. I think I read that there's 2 Far Cry games in development, and I think they're both supposed to be in development hell. One of them was supposed to be an extraction shooter, and I think that's been canceled because Ubisoft, I guess, has seen that that's a trend that they're too late to jump on, basically. Because extraction shooters, which everybody thought was going to be the next big thing, have already kind of started to die down. Even battle royales are kind of starting to die down. Ubisoft is just kind of in this limbo where they need other things to stay afloat, but they don't have them. So the first example that comes to mind that I can think of as a Ubisoft franchise that didn't take off is Watch Dogs. Everybody remembers when Watch Dogs was announced back at E3 2012, I think it was. Was it 2012 or 2013? I think it might have been E3. No, it was E3 2013. Yeah, everybody remembers when Watch Dogs was announced at E3 2013. We were all super impressed by it. We all thought it was going to be the next... We thought it was going to kill Grand Theft Auto. And then Watch Dogs came out and nobody really liked it. I mean, me personally, I didn't think Watch Dogs was as bad as a lot of people said it was. I thought it was okay. But the fact stands, it got middling reviews, and I don't think it was like a super huge success. But it was enough of a success to get Watch Dogs 2, which I actually liked a lot better than the original Watch Dogs, personally. And most people did. But then they did something really weird. So you figure, okay, well, Watch Dogs 2, people really liked and thought was a step in the right direction for the series. So what do? They make Watch Dogs Legion, which more or less undoes every single thing that people liked about Watch Dogs 2. And the whole really weird, you can play as anyone, play as all these different NPCs, and there's no main character shtick. That was just such a bizarre design decision, and it was just Legion didn't take off, and it's been 4 years, no news on a new Watch Dogs. I think we can pretty safely say that Watch Dogs just didn't take off the way Ubisoft was hoping it would, and that franchise is probably on ice, if not just outright dead. Next, I want to talk about probably one of the biggest failures of this year. I would say probably the biggest failure, video game-wise, of this year, Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones was a complete and utter flop. It was so much, and you know it was a huge flop because no one even fucking remembers that it came out this year, right? People remember that Suicide Squad came out and was a flop. People remember, you know, Concord. People still meme and joke about. Skull and Bones, no one's even talking about Skull and Bones anymore. That game came out and it was just forgettable. It wasn't even like a fun disaster or like something that people can look at and be like, what the fuck were they thinking? It came out and it was so fucking boring and so fucking just like lifeless. People aren't even interested in shitting on Skull and Bones. And then Yves Guillemot comes out and says it's the first quadruple A game. Yeah, how'd that fucking work out for you? Hopefully we won't get any more quadruple A games if that's what they're like. You go up to somebody and you make a joke about Suicide Squad or Concord, they'll be like, yeah, that shit sucked, you know. But Skull and Bones, you go up and you say, hey, you remember Skull and Bones? They'll be like, the fuck are you talking about? You talking about the college frat that controls the planet? You're like, no, Skull and Bones, the Ubisoft pirate game. And they're like, oh, you mean Black Flag? And you're like, no, the one that fucking came out earlier this year. And they're like, the fuck are you talking about? Ubisoft pirate game? What? It got memory hold. It's so fucking boring. The next big Ubi flop, no, you can't even call this one a flop because it's not out yet. Beyond Good and Evil 2. Where the fuck is it, Ubisoft? They came out with 2 trailers for Beyond Good and Evil 2 and made a huge deal about it. And nothing since 2018 about Beyond Good and Evil 2. But it's just bizarre. They re-announced the game to a huge amount of hype. A lot of people were really excited about it. And they just pissed it all away. The game is nowhere in sight, and there's no way development on it is going smooth. You don't announce a game, you don't re-announce a game, and then 7 years later have nothing to show for it because it's going so smoothly. You see what I'm saying? And they lost the lead director, I think, like a year or two ago. He quit. So God only knows what that's done to the game's development. And it's just, what is happening with this game? CGI trailers that look that good are not fucking cheap. So they basically just, is it a money pit? What's happening? Like what is going on with the development of Beyond Good and Evil 2? That's 3 money sinks, by the way, so far in this video. They spent tons of money trying to get Watch Dogs to take off as a franchise. Didn't happen. They spent tons of money on Skull and Bones, that fucking disaster of a development cycle. Game was dead on arrival. Tons of money making a sequel to Beyond Good and Evil. We are 21 years after the original game. It's been in development for 15 years, and there's still no game anywhere near release date, it looks like. So that's 3 money pits. Keep in mind, game development is fucking expensive. Remember this. We talked about this in the PlayStation video. So Ubisoft is just throwing away money on these projects that aren't taking off. And that leads me to the Tom Clancy brand. I hinted at it earlier. Tom Clancy as a brand used to be a big fucking deal in gaming. You used to see Tom Clancy on a box and you'd know, oh, this is a real hardcore tactical game with a lot of realism, and just you have to really think out what you're gonna do in it and plan ahead, that kind of stuff. Stuff like Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell. that sort of thing. And over the years, as Ubisoft has made all of these pushes to be more and more commercial, they've diluted the brand a lot. I think The Division was really the first step towards that dilution. But just in general, at this point, what even is Tom Clancy as a brand? Really? If you want an honest answer, it's nothing but Siege. It's almost like the people who are organizing these projects aren't doing a very good job. But, so Extraction comes out after God knows how many years of floundering around. Nobody gives a shit. Ghost Recon is pretty much dead. Wildlands was a real big departure for the series. I thought the game was dog shit. I know a lot of people liked it, though, and I think it sold fairly well, because I can't imagine they would have made a sequel if it didn't. But then Breakpoint comes out and is even more of a divergence from what Ghost Recon is. Gets really mixed reviews, and people don't like it and doesn't sell very well. So then they start making a fucking Ghost Recon that's a battle royale, and it gets fucking canceled. Wow, another money sink. I'll actually hold off on talking more about that, because canceled projects is a whole nother fucking thing. And then Splinter Cell has been in this weird limbo where they've been hinting at a new one for like 7 years now and just aren't making it, so who even knows what's going on with there. Not to mention the other sub-properties of Tom Clancy. They just forgot about Hawks. That's dead. Jack Ryan. That's dead. What? Oh, The Division. God, I forgot about The Division. The Division failed to take off in any real super notable way, so much so that they started making a fucking extraction shooter, which they canceled. And it's just like, what? I'm going to use that to segue into the last subject of this video, which is Ubisoft has canceled a shitload of projects in the past 5 years. The Ghost Recon Battle Royale, canceled. The Division extraction shooter, canceled. The Far Cry extraction shooter, probably canceled. A ton of games that they never even announced that were canceled. There was a space game they were working on that they had a teaser for hidden in Watch Dogs 2 that got canceled. Hyperscape, their Battle Royale, that was out. They shut that shit down. That's a game that they released. They finished and released, and they found a way to cancel it. Beyond Good and Evil 2 might as well be canceled because the game's nowhere near fucking finished after 15 years of development. Skull and Bones almost got canceled. The only reason it didn't, like I said, because the government of Singapore was like, hey, don't fucking cancel it. So they couldn't. And, yeah, they're just, again, like, this is all shit, y'all, that, as I talked about briefly in the PlayStation video, that costs a lot. Like, this shit's expensive. Ubisoft is pissing money away. And not to mention, the biggest thing, the biggest recent development, Assassin's Creed Shadows, which, okay, I'm not going to enter into the culture war bullshit. I don't give a fuck about any of that. Whatever, like, that's not relevant to what I'm talking about. I got my opinions on it, but whatever. Ultimately, like, I'm not convinced that culture war shit really plays as big of a role in whether or not a product sells as a lot of people are convinced it does. Positive or negative, by the way. I think that ultimately what it comes down to is, does the game look good or does it look like shit? And then that's the biggest thing that'll play a factor in whether or not it fucking sells. And I think the fact of the matter is, with Assassin's Creed Shadows, a lot of people don't really seem to find it super compelling from what I've heard, you know, and the non... I mean, it's hard to get, like, really an honest opinion on it because it's just so wrapped up in all this shit. You know, people either love it or hate it based on their stance on DEI shit, like I talked about earlier. But, that's not really my concern here. My concern is the fact that people don't really seem to find it compelling in terms of the gameplay, and also, the biggest thing, they've had to delay it just a few months before it was even originally supposed to come out, which means that, again, the development has probably been a fucking train wreck. So you're seeing a common theme here. The problem with Ubisoft, at least from my outsider, uninformed, I don't actually fucking know what's going on in those offices perspective, it seems like they have a bunch of people managing stuff that do not need to be managing stuff. Because if they had good management, they wouldn't have this many games being canceled. They wouldn't have this many games either still in development hell or just out of development hell. And they wouldn't have to put all their eggs in the Assassin's Creed basket. You see what I'm saying? They would have a healthy backlog of games that they could come out with on a semi-regular basis that could beef up their portfolio. And I think a big part of the reason is because they went all in on this, like, everything needs to be a massive open world with a billion things to do and all this shit, and God knows how much they spent getting John Bernthal and Ghost Recon, you know. And it's like I talked about in the PlayStation video. Ultimately, I think the problem is they're shooting too high, but they clearly don't have the organizational capabilities to see this stuff through to the end, even, much less see it through to the end and create a satisfactory product. And yeah, it's really biting them in the ass. And I think this is kind of the culmination of 10 years of really bad business decisions on the part of Ubisoft, that they're in such a precarious position. I'm not gonna be as dire about it as I think it would be easy to be. Is Ubisoft about to die or collapse or shut down or go bankrupt or whatever? I don't know. I don't think so. They've been in really bad situations like this beforehand. These companies tend to have a little bit of a trampoline plan underneath them to bounce back in case shit gets really bad. I do know that there was recently that employee walkout that probably fucked them a good bit. The bunch of employees walked out to protest like work from home related shit. How much of an effect that had on the bottom line, I don't know. And how much someone like Guimont cares about any of that, I don't know either. But yeah, that's basically the current state of Ubisoft that I wanted to talk about because I find it really interesting. And I'm also kind of setting up for my next discussion video where I kind of want to talk more broadly about the gaming industry, because this Sony and Ubisoft stuff, like I've been hinting at a little bit, I think is really indicative of broader trends in the industry that are really not good. And yeah, that's basically it for this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm stupid or dumb or wrong and Ubisoft is the greatest, or let me know if your opinion is way more negative than mine. You think Ubisoft is going to shut down tomorrow and Yves Guimont's going to jump off a bridge. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think of Ubisoft's current output? And what do you hope for the future? Do you want to see Beyond Good and Evil 2 get completed? Do you think Far Cry 7 is actually going to happen? Or that Splinter Cell remake they've been talking about since fucking, like, what, 2015? What do you think is going to happen? Because as far as I can tell, it seems like Ubisoft is in a really weird spot where they only have their eggs in the Assassin's Creed basket, and it seems like they're about to do with Assassin's Creed what Activision has done with Call of Duty. They're essentially betting on every Assassin's Creed game from now on has to sell really well and will be fine. But the problem is Assassin's Creed as a franchise has proven before that it doesn't have nearly the financial sales stability that something like Call of Duty does. So I think that puts Ubisoft in a pretty dangerous position. I'm curious to see what happens with whether or not they get acquired by somebody bigger or investors are able to pull them in a different direction. I don't know, but let me know what you think. And that's basically it for this video. I do have to, real quick, thank the patrons over on Patreon. Spec Teams 1 Slingshots, Zorio, the Gazer Patron, and Lev, as well as the members here on YouTube, Brigador24 and Saiga. Really appreciate y'all. Really appreciate anyone who watched this video. If you made it this far into the video, comment. My favorite Ubisoft game is the Ghost Recon extraction shooter that never existed. But yeah, other than that, that's all I got for this video and this outro. And I will see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.